Every year a lot of Hollywood movies gets released. Some of them makes big profit and some fails miserably. There is a lot of craziness for Hollywood movies in the entire world.
You should not be here.
The following list ranks the most popular movies of all time, after adjusting for inflation, population and per capita ticket purchasing trends. You might be surprised by some of the other titles. Welcome to DLP Movie, and let's count down top 10 most watched movies of all time. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. There has never been anything in a theater quite like Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So perfect is the illusion, so tender the romance and fantasy, so emotional are certain portions.
When you smile and you sing, everything is in tune and in sync.
When the acting of the characters strikes a depth comparable to the sincerity of human players, that the film approaches real greatness, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was immediately hailed as a masterpiece. It remains the jewel in Disney's crown, and although inflated modern grosses have allowed other titles to pass it in dollar totals, it is likely that more people have seen it than any other animated feature. While it's a bit different from the original fairy tale, Walt Disney took this familiar classic and turned into a family film that is still talked about over 60 years later. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is such a charming film, and is another example of beautiful animation, and a terrific story that could charm its way into your heart. The Exorcist. Several publications have regarded it one of the best horror films in history. The movie deals with the demonic possession of a 12-year-old girl and her mother's attempts to win back her child through an exorcism conducted by two priests. The Exorcist has always been more about the never-ending conflict between pure evil and pure innocence than about being an average horror story. There are many more levels to this film than what initially meets the eye. The Exorcist is a very slow movie that actually features a full-blown plot, its characters, and their associated arcs. The original ambition of The Exorcist was to scare the world with imagery and concepts never before seen in cinema, and at the time it came out, William Friedkin's masterpiece was by far the most terrifying thing around. Dr. Zhivago. British-Italian epic romantic drama film directed by David Lean.
Far from the bitter guns of war. Alone.
Talked about the life of a Russian physician and poet who, although married to another, falls in love with a political activist's wife, and experiences hardship during the First World War and then the October Revolution. This was one of the last gasps of true epic filmmaking, a story of human beings set against a vast historical panorama, made without any computer-generated images, and featuring only people to keep your interest, with not a space alien or hobbit in sight. Who can believe now that there was a time when that was sufficient? Dr. Zhivago is one of the last great classics of the epic cinema genre, and becomes the 8th highest grossing film of all time. Jaws. Here it comes, looming back out of the water, a restored print of Steven Spielberg's serial killer masterpiece from 1975. Jaws is a sensationally effective action picture, a scary thriller that works all the better, because it's filled with characters that have been developed into human beings we get to know and care about. The reason the movie does all that to us is that it is a great story. It is filled with real people, who have real jobs, and who have real fears, and who must now confront a real shark. Can you think of anything more terrifying than getting on a rickety, leaky boat to kill a 25-foot shark when you already have a paralyzing fear of the water? It's a film that's as frightening as The Exorcist, and yet it's a nicer kind of fright, somehow more fun, because we're being scared by an outdoor adventure saga, instead of by a brimstone and vomit devil. The Ten Commandments. It dramatizes the biblical story of the life of Moses, an adopted Egyptian prince who becomes the deliverer of his real brethren, the enslaved Hebrews.
The Ten Commandments, newly restored and presented in 70mm Super Vista.
And therefore leads the Exodus to Mount Sinai, where he receives, from God, the Ten Commandments. It was not only Heston as Moses who made this movie a success, but all the elements that came together, the cast of thousands, the special effects, the costumes, the sets, and most of all the simply unbelievable parting of the Red Sea. For those of us who saw the Ten Commandments on the big screen and in one of the now extinct gilded movie palaces of yesteryear, the picture holds special memories. There is a sense of nostalgia that accompanies any new viewing of this one-of-a-kind Victorian pageant. At the time of its release in 1956, it was the most expensive film made and also was listed as the 10th best film in the epic genre. Titanic. Titanic was director James Cameron's first world-conquering smash, before Avatar, and it launched the careers of Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. For Cameron, Titanic is an attempt to raise pop entertainment to the level of art. The film is strongest when its images are most harsh, the great ship cracking in two, its stern standing nearly straight up with passengers clinging to its sides before plunging into the sea. The story of two lovers with social class differences, aboard the ship during its ill-fated maiden voyage, has become a cinematic landmark that won't soon be forgotten. This film does a super job of recreating the historical details accurately and then weaving them seamlessly around the fictional romance. Very impressive, indeed. Then, the song. Who can watch this movie and not be taken with Celine Dion's performance of My Heart Goes On?
I'll never let go.
E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It is filled with innocence, hope, and good cheer. It is also wickedly funny and exciting as hell. E.T. The Extraterrestrial is a movie like The Wizard of Oz, that you can grow up with and grow old with, and it won't let you down. It tells a story about friendship and love. There's no great mystery as to why E.T. struck a chord on such a grand scale. This elegant and simple tale of a young boy's friendship with a homesick alien remains one of the most magical, heartbreaking and life-affirming films to emerge from the Hollywood system. Henry Thomas's astonishing turn as Elliot renders the improbable scenario wholly believable, and stands as one of the all-time great child performances, over 30 years later. With a mainstream cinematic landscape dominated by hyperkinetic CGI action blockbusters, its deliberate pacing and unapologetic sentimentality seem wholly refreshing. The Sound of Music. By far the most well-known and beloved musical film of all time.
I hate to go and leave this pretty sight.
The film is about a young Austrian woman, studying to become a nun in Salzburg in 1938, who is sent to the villa of the retired naval officer, and widower to be governess to his 7 children. Every aspect, from the cinematography to the acting, the sets to the costumes, the music, choreography, script, is top-notch. While the film is family-friendly and has a sweet story, it is constantly amazing the way people attack it as saccharine and sugary. This can certainly be said of the stage show, but the movie version has been carefully produced to provide a more well-rounded vision. The film was just as popular throughout the world, breaking previous box office records in 29 countries. Star Wars. Star Wars depicts the adventures of various characters, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars is a fairy tale, a fantasy, a legend, finding its roots in some of our most popular fictions. What makes this movie exceptional is the whole spectacle that unfolds. This is never boring, rarely violent, and always a treat to watch. All the creatures, all the characters, all the action scenes, all of this movie is basically perfect. Spielberg may have given rise to the modern blockbuster as we know it now, but George Lucas gave us the biggest blockbuster, and the most successful cinematic sci-fi series ever, Gone with the Wind. This classic film narrates the love between Scarlett O'Hara and Red Butler during the American Civil War. It's the history of a selfish woman who doesn't want to admit her feelings about the man she loves, and finally loses him. It's hard to imagine the effect this epic film set against the Civil War and Reconstruction had on American movie-going audiences when it came out, breaking all records at the time, and earning the highest ever domestic gross in today's dollars.
Oh, Red, please don't go. You can't leave me, please. I'll never forgive you.
I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'll never understand or forgive myself. And if a bullet gets me, so help me, I'll laugh at myself for being an idiot.
Gone with the Wind brought together the best people in Hollywood. The end result is the stunning film that for about 4 hours keeps us interested in the story unfolding on the screen. But it's safe to say Gone with the Wind is a triumph of filmmaking ingenuity and genius that will live on for many generations to come. What is your favorite movie from the list? Let us know below and don't forget to subscribe.